Hello, welcome back to Mrs. Hewitt's Spelling at Home. We have got another morpheme grid for you today and another root word, root morpheme I should say. And when I show this now, I want you to tell me or shout at the screen, however you're going to do it, if it is a bound morpheme or a free morpheme. That is job number 1. Okay, what do you think? It is in fact a bound morpheme. Why is it a bound morpheme? How do you know? Yeah, it's because it isn't a word on its own. Okay, we don't have that as a word. It only works when it has got a prefix or a suffix attached to it there. So it is ident or ident, and this is from the Latin idem, meaning the same. Okay, so anything with this id, sometimes it will just be id, but ident for the one that we're doing today means the same. Okay, so we've got 3 main pathways that we're following today on our morpheme frame. So get ready and I will pop it up to the screen, and that is your cue to pause the video. Okay, so let's have a look at what words you managed to build today. Now, the first one, which I think makes great sense, is, as you can see here, I've got identical. Okay, so that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If we're talking about something being the same, we've got identical twins or anything that is identical, that literally means the same, doesn't it? So the equal bit there makes it an adjective to describe something, describing something as being the same. It is, in fact, identical. Okay, we also then have the word identity, and that is talking about what somebody's personality, their person, isn't it? It's them, who they are. Okay, so that again would originally come from that bit of being the same but more personal to themselves. And identify is that bit about saying, yep, I identify that, I know what that is. So it comes from that bit of kind of that recognition bit, identifying it of being the same as something or the same as something that you know somewhere else. Okay, so there are 3 main pathways: the identical, identity, and identify pathways. Okay, we've now got some of our spelling rules that we can apply. You can see I've got a nice lot of orange on there today, which means you would have had to apply some of our spelling rules when you're attaching your suffixes to our root morpheme. So started off with going from identify, we went to identifiable. And you can see here, identify with the Y, but when we add the able, which means you are able to identify it, we change that Y to an I there. Look, you can see there in identifiable, we have an I because of that suffix beginning with a vowel. Okay, we don't have Y, suffixes ending with Ys and then another one joining on and keeping that Y there. So we have identifiable. Okay, less than ing, you do keep it with an ing because you wouldn't have I. So identifiable means you are able to identify it. You know what it is. We've then got identified. So again, same thing there. Drop that Y, add that ed. Like I just said, if we built identifying, which we could do, because it's the verb to identify, ing, we would keep that Y because you wouldn't have FIING. Okay, so we keep that Y there for the ing suffix. Then we had misidentify. So think about what you know about that prefix mis. What does misidentify mean? What do you think? So hopefully you will have said it means that you identify it wrongly, because mis is meaning wrong, basically. So misidentify means that you have identified something incorrectly. Perhaps you didn't know who, we thought it was a person, but actually it was a different person. Okay. Here we have got identification. So this again is to do with, we've got two rules that we're doing here. So again, changing that Y to an I when we add the Kate, and then taking off that E for that shun. Mrs. Hewitt's favourite suffix is the shun suffix, because it's not shun, is it? It's ION, but you know it's a T because it has that 8 bit there. The Asian is always a T, isn't it? Because it comes from that 8. And then lastly at the bottom there, identifies, or if I put identities, so more than one identity. Again, changing that Y to an IES for the plural. Okay, so just remember when you're young, you learn about baby and babies. Change the Y, daisy and daisies. Still that same one. Identities, it ends with a Y, so we change that Y to an IES when we add the plural S. So on the grid, that's that bottom one, you see I've got identity, and I've just popped an S here because the regular plural is just an S. But then that's when we have to apply our special rules that we know. We have lots of rules that we apply again and again and again. Okay. You could also just put identically there. I didn't talk about. Oh, I did. Oh, I missed that. Look, unidentified is there. Unidentified, meaning we don't know what it is, like an unidentified flying object, a UFO. And again, re-identified would mean you've done it again, because that re meaning again or back. Okay, so these really only work with the ify, because that's the verb. Okay, identify is the verb. Identical is an adjective, and identity is a noun, so you wouldn't really get these prefixes with the nouns. Okay, so that is our root word for today. It was ident, and that is all we have time for. You have to go and write your sentences now. That's very important because you need to make sure you can spell. So pick a couple where you have to apply those spelling rules, maybe adding those suffixes where you've got to change that Y to an I, just making sure those rules are really in there so you can always apply them to new words. Okay, good job, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye.